It was hard being the one left behind, and I missed Mum and the kids intensely. But I knew there was work to do back home, not only in providing a living for the family, but also in a far more challenging role for the community. I'd enrolled as an air raid warden. It was a daunting challenge that sometimes appeared overwhelming, but there was a sense of camaraderie among those of us who took on the task. The nightly air raids were coming thick and fast now. When we heard the sirens, it was a signal for most people to take shelter. But for us, it was time to get our gear together and go outside and be ready for action. We weren't what you might call heroes. We were just ordinary men in extraordinary times. It's surprising what we're all capable of when we're put to the test. When the sirens faded, the sound of the bombing grew louder, and we all knew we had another long night ahead of us.
I see it every day. The city is imploding and it's running out of life. The children got away. This place has lost its soul and now it's running out of life. I can see it in the face of every stranger that I meet, in every place I go. We're running out of time. We're running out of life. At night when darkness falls, I hear the bombs exploding in the streets of my hometown. I go where duty calls and strive to save the people from the buildings burning down. But it's more than just the framework of our lives that turn to dust with every bomb that falls. Through our struggles and our strife, we're running out of life. Some are sent to save themselves, some are left to save. Some are facing hopelessness, some must try to be brave. The danger now, pray to keep our nerve. Staying strong, we must stand firm as I walk through this neighborhood where I was born and raised. My family gone away, the bombed out homes cry out to me, the people stark and dazed. I know that I must carry on, but I cannot deny this pain I feel inside. It cuts me like a knife. We're running out of life.
We've been doing our best to settle into our new environment. Living in a big house was different, to say the least, but it was pleasant enough. The staff there were very kind to us, and we got to know our way around the parts of the house that we were allowed in. The lawns were always fun to play on, and the gardens were beautiful. School days were not so much fun. The local children from the village didn't like us at all. I think they resented us being there. They used to call us lousy Londoners and poke fun at our rough accents.
Hey, can any of you smell a funny smell in here? Smells a bit like bad eggs.
That'll be them lot over there. I think the smell stayed with them when they travelled up from London.
Just ignore them. The teacher will be here in a minute and they'll quieten them down.
Oh, bloody shut 'em up.
Sheila, you know what I said about swearing?
I think it's them clothes they're wearing. Looks like they were made from an old set of curtains. Probably something they dragged out of the bins.
I'm going over there to sort 'em out.
Sit down, Sheila. You'll do no such thing.
Be quiet, both of you. If there's any sorting to be done, I'll do it. But we don't want any trouble. Teacher will be here soon.
What's going on in here? I could hear that noise right down the corridor.
Scruffy kids with shiny cuffs, up from London, think they're tough, taking over all our schools, then breaking all the rules. Dirty urchins, smelly clothes, how they got here no one knows, turning up on bus and trains, messing up our playground games. Londoners, stupid cockney blunderers, lousy Londoners, wish they'd go back where they came from. Lousy Londoners,
Scruffy kids,
lousy Londoners,
scruffy kids.
Scruffy kids all over town, causing trouble all around. They don't come from round this way, hope that they're not here to stay. Lousy Londoners, dirty rotten southerners, lousy Londoners, best they go back where they came from.
Scruffy kids, scruffy kids.
Lousy Londoners,
Scruffy kids,
lousy Londoners,
scruffy kids,
lousy Londoners.
scruffy kids.
Most of the time we learned to ignore it all, but once, on our way home from school, it all got a bit too much for me, and I remember getting into a fight with a girl named Monica. Well, it was more of a rough and tumble than a fight, I suppose. Nothing that serious. As a matter of fact, Monica and I became good friends after that. We'd been at the big house for a year when the news came that Sir A. Bailey had died. We'd never actually even met him, but it was common knowledge that he was our benefactor. Soon afterwards, Lady Bailey decided to sell the property, meaning our time at Bletchenden Park was coming to an end. All of us had to seek new billets in the village, and we were put with Mrs. Timothy, who was not very nice to us at all, to say the least. She reminded us every day that we were a burden, and she was only taking care of us because it was her duty, as she called it. She didn't try at all to make us feel loved. She especially treated little Sheila very harshly, and so we became very unhappy. She wanted us there, I know, because the government paid her for our keep. I don't think she spent all that money on us.
Come on, hurry up and finish your toast. You've all got to be up early for school tomorrow. For goodness sake, now look what you've done. You've spilt tea all over your toast now. Why do you have to be so clumsy, Sheila?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Timothy. I was just reaching for another piece of toast when
She couldn't help it. I think I distracted her.
You mind your own business, Violet. It's got nothing to do with you. Right, Sheila, you can just go ahead and eat it now.
But it's all soggy now and it tastes funny. I can't.
But there's tea all over her toast. She can't eat it now.
Was I talking to you? I told you. Now, Sheila, eat it.
I'm really sorry.
I won't tell you again. Now eat it. And you can stop all that noise, or I'll come over there and give you something to cry for.
I felt that something needed to be done. I had to somehow get word to Mum to help us. I knew that Mum was now living in New Marston in Oxford, but that's all. Nevertheless, I decided to send a letter. Dear Mum, I think you ought know she tends to talk back sometimes, but it's only 'cause she's sad. She bears the brunt for all of us. It's not because she's being bad. I'm sorry that I have to write, but Mum, we need you now.
I couldn't believe it when I received the letter from Vi. The fact alone that it was addressed to Mrs. Gletherow, care of Mrs. Harris, New Marston, Oxford, that was a mystery as to how it got delivered. My amazement reached another level when I stopped to think about how grown up my daughter had become and how she'd taken charge of the situation. The actual content of the letter stopped me in my tracks. I knew Vi well enough to know that she wouldn't contact me unless things were pretty bad. She liked to think she was more capable of handling things herself. My immediate instinct was to set out for Bletchington village and scoop him up in my arms. But what then? Where could I take him? I knew there was no extra room with Mrs. Harris. She was kind enough to take me in with little Georgie and baby John, but her house was just a small house and she had 4 children of her own with her husband away at war.
What's up, Ede? You don't look yourself. Is it anything to do with that letter?
It's Vi. The kids are being mistreated. This Mrs. Timothy, apparently she even hits our Sheila.
Are you sure she's just not being overly dramatic? I know how much they must all miss you.
No, it's not that. Vi is very independent for her age. I knew she wouldn't go to the trouble of writing if it wasn't something serious.
Here, let me read this. My God, this woman sounds like a real horror.
Yeah, but what am I going to do?
I know what we're going to do. We're going to go and get them and bring them here.
Yeah, but how can we? We're overcrowded here as it is.
Let me worry about that. Now, get your coat. We've got a bus to catch. Don't worry, Edie. We'll soon get this sorted out.
Yes, can I help you?
Mrs. Timothy, my name's Edie Gletherow and I've come to collect my children.
I don't know what you mean I've come to collect my children. These children have been billeted to me.
Never mind about any of that. Where are the kids?
They're just finishing their tea. I don't know what you're talking about.
My children are coming with me.
Well, you can't have them. They've been billeted to me.
Excuse me? What do you mean I can't have them? They're my kids.
Well, you'll have to take that up with the billeting officer.
Never mind about the billeting officer. How about I take it up with the local constable? Wait here, Ede. I'll go and get the police.
Oh, I don't want any trouble. I'm only trying to help, that's all.
Yeah, help yourself to the money you were allocated, you mean?
Look, just go and get my kids and then we'll be on our way.
Well, there's no need to have that attitude. Wait here. I'll go tell the children to collect their things.
Seems like we didn't get here a moment too soon, Ede. Don't you worry, we'll be out of here soon.
Oh, I'm not worried. I just can't believe the gall of this woman telling me I can't have my own kids. Bloody cheek. Who does she think she is? Oh, thank you so much for coming with me, Gertie.
You're more than welcome, my dear. I'm just glad we got it all sorted out.
from your home. How dare you? We left with the children and took the bus back to New Marston. We were really overcrowded, but we managed. We all lived at Mrs. Harris's house during the day, and then the children had a short walk each night and they slept at a local farmer's house. There just weren't enough room for us all to sleep there. I'd found a friend for life in Mrs. Harris, and how she took me in when I came to Oxford I won't forget. "Come and stay with me," she said, when we met in the village post office, adding, "My name's Gertrude, but you can call me Gert, and leave out the rude part." Oh, we both laughed out loud, and that was the beginning of our beautiful friendship. I'll be eternally grateful to Mrs. Harris for all she did for us. The Harris and the Gletherow families had forged a permanent bond.
It was late summer 1941 when Mum and the kids finally returned home. I'd actually found us a new home by this time in Holborn Road, Plaistow. Still only a flat, but an improvement on our previous accommodation in Canning Town. And we actually had a back garden for the first time. I'd always wanted a garden of my own. I don't know how I held back the tears when I met them at the station on their return. It was quite an emotional reunion, to say the least. The war wasn't over yet, not by a long way, but the worst of the bombing was over. for now at least. We learned over time that the war had many eras, but for now at least we were all together again, and it was indeed the beginning of a new era for us all.
Oh, Dad, I missed you so much. I don't ever want to go away again.
Don't worry, Ed. We're all safe now, and God willing, we won't have to leave our home again unless we want to.
You've got every reason to be proud of our girls, Wal. Vi took such good care of her sisters, Edie never complained, and Sheila was such a brave little girl.
Oh, I'm already very proud of them, and you too. I've kept all your letters, and I've treasured every one. But I'll bet there's many more stories you've got for me, and I want to hear every one of them.
Do you have any stories, Dad? I bet it was exciting, eh?
I do. Some for when you're a little bit older, but many are for right now. London's been through a terrible time, but hopefully that's all behind us now.
Vi's got a good story about some bullies they ran into at school. But the worst bully, I think, was a certain Mrs. Timothy. That I'll tell you all about.
I did my best, and I took care of the children at school, Dad. But you should have heard Mum stand up to Mrs. Timothy when she came to get us.
Now, as we find our way back home again, after all that we've been through, and all that we have seen, all the trauma and pain, starting our lives again, being a family again.
Now, as we pick up all the pieces of the lives we left behind, the children by our side, no more emptiness now. Good to be home. Good to be home again. Back on the streets where we were born. Good to be back. Back in the neighborhood. It never felt so good to be home again.
Though the air raids have taken their toll,
The town that we lived in has not lost its soul.
we've cast off our shackles and taken control again.
Right, you lot, come on. It's bath night tonight. Let's get you all scrubbed up and ready for school tomorrow.
Oh, Mum, can't we just stay up a bit longer?
Now come on, you heard your mother. Well, maybe just a little bit longer, eh, Ed?
Good to be home. Good to be home again. Back on the streets where we were born. Good to be back.
was indeed good to be home. We loved our new home in Holborn Road. The Blitz was over, well, for the most part. For now, anyway. Later, in 1944, Dad built an Anderson shelter in the backyard when the Germans started launching the V1 rockets, or doodlebugs as we called them. I remember one came down and hit Newport Avenue and part of Jenkins Road, just 2 streets over from us. But the worst was over and the war would end soon. Better times were on their way.
But this is not quite where our story ends. It was now 1945, and things were getting back to normal. We'd celebrated VE Day in May. I'd been working at a bakery called Workers' Supply, run by the local Labour Party in Hermit Road, Canning Town. In fact, I'd worked my way up from delivery man to manager. We had horses there for delivery carts, and I'd taken on a young lad, Bill, to help out. Bill was a nice boy who'd been through a rough time. He was used to working with horses, as he'd been evacuated to a farm in Somerset. He was also a keen worker, and I kind of took him under my wing, as it were. I noticed that my eldest, Vi, had taken to coming round to the bakery a lot to help me out, as she put it. Vi and I did a lot together, so it wasn't all that unusual, and it was lovely to have her around. But I soon guessed it wasn't me she was coming to see. This particular day, Bill was out the back slicing bread on the machine when Vi went out to see the horses.
Oh, hello. I just came out to check on the horses. I'm here helping my dad.
You mean Wally?
That's right. So, you must be Dad's new helper?
Yeah, I'm Bill. Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you too. I'm sure we'll be seeing quite a bit of each other, as I'm often here. You know, to help my dad.
I'm sure we will. I'll look forward to that.
I guess I had no idea what I'd started. After that, Bill would come round to the house quite often, for tea. Sometimes Vi and I would go to see the wrestling at West Ham Baths in Romford Road, and when we did, Bill would come with us. I could see that Vi and Bill were getting very close, and I have to admit it was a bit worrying at first, because they were both so young. But then I'd also come to know Bill very well myself. He was a smashing lad, always like another son to me. I was happy with the situation as it stood, with them just being friends. For now.
seems I've never known a feeling quite so strong.
Well, it seems we've both been through so much before. Seems like all we've ever known in life was war. Now I think it's time for lives to start to mend. And I wonder, are you looking for a friend? So far to go, and are you looking for a friend when I know we can be so much more? Is it too soon to tell when we only met a moment ago? A strange kind of way, it all seems so familiar to me, like we've both been here before. And now, are you looking for a friend? Counting the years as we go on and on. And are you looking for a friend when I know we can be so much more? Is it too soon to tell when we only met a moment ago? In a strange kind of way, it all seems so familiar to me, like a love that never ends. What you said. Are you looking for a friend?
My name is Ron Gletherow, as myself this time. It had long been my ambition to write the story of my family and their struggles at the outset of World War II. Like many thousands of other families in Britain's major cities at that time, my parents went through the ordeal of watching their children go off to places unknown in order to keep them safe. I can only imagine what it must have been like for them. The ones who knew exactly what it was like are the Evacuees themselves, my sisters Vi, Edie and Sheila. Unfortunately, we lost Sheila to cancer back in 2004. But I think it would be fitting now if the other two, Vi and Edie, read this final narration themselves.
I didn't know it back then, but I'd met my future husband, Bill. Bill and I were to spend the next 70 years of our lives together. You know, one of those teenage marriages that never seemed to work out. We raised a family and 2 sons and received 2 anniversary telegrams of congratulations from the Queen.
The rest of us did all right, raising families of our own. Mum and Dad went back to their normal way of life before the war came, always struggling for money, but happy. They even surprised us all with adding another addition to the family, our kid brother Ron, who was born in 1951. He was lucky that he'd missed out on those wartime struggles, born into a world of modern inventions and rock and roll. He's heavily into music and a bit strange, but we all love him. Sadly, Dad died suddenly from a heart attack just 16 months after Ron was born, just when things were starting to get easier. That was a terrible blow to us all.
We sisters would never forget the time of our evacuation, though it was a time of adventure, but also of trepidation. We'd never forget, and it would have a lasting effect that would stay with us for the rest of our lives.
I'm not a playwright, I'm merely a musician. But I've tried my best to remain faithful to the story as told to me by my mother and my older siblings. I hope this musical play will endure as a legacy to family members no longer with us and those who remain. My father, who I portray in this story, was somebody I was never fortunate enough to get to know, as he passed on when I was still little more than a baby. I do have one final song for him though. I'd like to say I wrote it for him myself, but unfortunately Cole Porter beat me to it in 1935, 16 years before I was born. However, I do know that the song Begin to Begin was my father's favourite song, so please indulge me as I play it for him now as a final musical piece.